7th grade teacher. And he was like my 3rd year. And this group of kids walked into my 7th grade classroom, room 207, and they were a bunch of chubby-faced little, no, I'm just kidding, I'm not gonna go there, but they walked in, and I was lucky enough to teach them and really get close to them in 1 year. And then the next year, I moved with some of them to 8th grade in a reading class. I don't know if y'all remember that. And then one of the best things that ever happened to me, I went, just a few years later, I jumped to 11th grade and got these folks again. So I was thinking about it, the folks who had me all 3 years, that's over 500 days of bowl. That's crazy, right? So we're gonna like make it 501 today. And you hold this for a second. Alright, so I think a lot about audience. I'm an English teacher. And a lot of what's been said tonight has been for this whole crowd right here. And it's great that you guys are here. But I have a primary audience today. Like I have one audience, maybe two. I'll give you two, Miss Vera. But I have a primary audience today, and my primary audience is this group of folks right here. So if you see my butt, I'm sorry about that. I'm speaking to you guys. The things that I'm trying to say are all to make you guys have a good night. I am nervous, and I don't get nervous, and the only reason I'm nervous is because I want this to be amazing. So I brought this chair because I'm a teacher. I don't stand behind podiums. There is a secondary audience, and I would be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to the folks who have gotten them here. That just made me cry, Ms. Boyer. That whole thing, too, I don't know if you had that planned, but that was too much. The parents, the loved ones, the family members, everybody in this room that knows you personally, thank God for them. But they're secondary. You guys are first. All right. So, audience, right? You guys, this is to you. I was watching a speech the other day. Maybe you guys saw it. It was like 2 weeks ago. And it was from a Harvard graduation. And it blew up on Facebook. And it's this guy, and he recites spoken word. And his name was Donovan Livingston. I can't lose this or I'll forget something. His name was Donovan Livingston. And my little spiel today is not going to be spoken word. I'm not nearly that cool. So it won't rhyme. Sorry about that. But he said something that struck me, and I feel like it has to be said here today as you guys are hanging on the stage. He said, injustice is when we tell students that they're stars without acknowledging the night that surrounds them. Let me say that in just other words for a second. It's wrong. When we talk about how big of stars you are, and best believe I'm going to talk about that. It's wrong to talk about how big of stars you are without talking about all of the darkness that fills the clouds around them. And I'm going to talk just about two things tonight. The first thing I'm going to talk about, I hope doesn't depress everyone in the room. Because I'm going to talk a little bit about the darkness that you guys have endured, right? And hopefully, by talking about that darkness, one of the things that we notice is how much brighter stars are on the darkest nights. And so to talk about darkness, I'm going to put on my adult hat. I really wish I had a hat that says adult. And I'm going to apologize to you all. My wife, who's out there, what's up, wifey? My wife tells me that when I mess up, which is very, very infrequently, that when I mess up and I apologize, it makes her feel validated for being wrong. Well, I would be lying if I said that some folks did mess up along the way. You guys caught the raw end of some deals, right? You guys were wrong a couple times. So I'm going to apologize for a couple things, some of which I couldn't even control, some of which I could. So here goes nothing. I apologize. I apologize, folks, for something called No Child Left Behind. So I don't even know if you know about this, right? But it was supposed to be just that, and it was in Washington, D.C., and it was 2001, and I think y'all were 3. And it didn't get repealed until 2015. So all of your school is No Child Left Behind. And because of that, we made some really, really bad decisions. Adults made some really, really bad decisions. See, we made the sky a little darker. Right? We started calling kids things like below basic and proficient and advanced. And we started caring about tests. more than we care about people sometimes, right? And by every measure, No Child Left Behind was a failure. Kids were learning fast, they started learning slower. Guys, we weren't good adults. I want you to hear that. In that case, we weren't good adults. Let me do one more. No, let me do a couple more. I apologize that in 2011, you guys endured the biggest budget cuts that Pennsylvania has ever seen. I'm talking $1 billion in 1 year. Gone. I'm sorry. Guys, we're not great adults. Right? And I can go off about how in the same year we decided to build up our prisons and spend a whole lot of money on them. But I'll leave that alone because I want to get to the stars, right? We're still talking about darkness. I apologize for a few other things. Some of y'all remember that we had some journalists in Pittsburgh. We had some journalists in Pittsburgh that want to say really stupid things, that compared Wilkinsburg students to bruised apples. Some of y'all remember that article. It was last year. And I wanted to give a finger to that particular publication, right? But I didn't. But I'm sorry. Here's the thing. I apologize that you guys have had to carry the burden of stereotypes sometimes. Because of where you live, because of who you are, because of the neighborhood you're from, and the school you go to. You guys have carried way more than you ever should have had to carry. And we were not good adults. I feel sick about that. Guys, it gets a little bit closer to home, right? When I apologize for things in Washington, D.C., which you know I had no control over, right? I apologize for things in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and I apologize for things that happened across the street and across the hallway and in my own heart and my own mind that didn't always keep you guys in, the place that you deserve to be, right? Didn't always make the decisions that were best for you. So hopefully you all hear me that there is darkness, right? There's darkness, but thank God for darkness because stars shine really, really bright when it's dark. And so I'm sorry that the decisions that adults made, and I have to admit it, right? I'm sorry that the decisions that we made weren't very good. We weren't good adults, and sometimes y'all carried the brunt of that. But if I stopped right here, this would be a terrible story. If that was all I said and I walked off the stage, it would be a bad story. But you guys deserve way better than that because these stars, excuse my language, are a damn good story. And we're going to get into that right now, right? And so to do that, I'm going to tell a story. And some of these folks remember this, and it's kind of a funny story, right? Last year we got lucky. There was a grant. There was a grant that gave us some iPads, and it was in our classroom, another classroom. And there were some people who were paying attention to you guys. I don't even know if you knew they were paying attention to you guys. But when you would write something, I wouldn't know what to do with it, so I would send it off to people who mattered and say, look, this is cool, right? They're writing this, or whatever. And I would email it to them. And someone called me, and they were like, look, it's from one of the biggest foundations in Pittsburgh. Said, Mr. Bowe, this is awesome. We want to come hang out in your classroom. And I was like, oh, that's great. Actually, we want to give you some money. That's what they said. And I was like, that's even better. We love money, right? And I said, perfect. And then I came to you guys and I was like, oh shoot, folks. There's these people coming to our classroom. We should act like we know what we're doing, right? Because that's what you say. So they came, and we had this lesson. We had this perfect lesson where this guy, seriously, I can't make this stuff up. I'm not even going to say his name because it's not worth a Google, had written a terrible article, which I'm fine if he writes a terrible article about me. I'm fine if he writes a terrible article about them and all of them. I can get over that. When he comes after you, it's real personal to me, right? And he had written this article. And the lesson was perfect. This lady from the foundation was going to come, she was going to hang out, and she was going to watch, and we were going to talk about your response to this article where you guys got called out. And so we started on that. We started talking about it. We read the article. You guys had already seen it. And I don't know if you remember this. Some of you were there, right? And we started debating and discussion. I had this big idea. I'm an English teacher, right? We're going to talk about tone, and we're going to talk about, emotion, and we're going to talk about how we harness emotion, how we bring it down to levels that, make sense, and we get it all in, then we come back, and we're the adults in the room, and we make this guy, his bigotry, we make his hatred stand out for what it is, right? And it didn't go like that. folks. I had a little piece of paper, a half sheet that Marquand was supposed to write his answers on, right? And it didn't go like that. It just didn't go like that. See, when you present something this major to kids, they did what they should do, which they got mad. And we started screaming, and I'm like, yo, guys, raise our hands, right? Let's act like we know what we're doing. And they're screaming across the room, and they're yelling, and kids are going crazy, and kids are flipping out, and I feel like, people are jumping up on one side of the room. I think at one point someone even got up and screamed the F word, right? And I'm like, not acting, like I thought we should act, right? I thought we should make it look like in the movies where they sit in straight rows and how they raise their hands and stuff like that. And the bell rang, and people left out, and the lady came up to me. I want y'all to hear this, because this is the star that you guys don't always know, right? The lady came up to me, and she said, well, that's not what I expected at all. And I was like, well, I mean, come on, be nice. It was a Monday, I don't know, something. And she said, what I just saw right there didn't seem like a high school class. And I was like, oh, okay. And she said, the level of conversation, the level of debate, the level of discussion is what I would expect from a college. She's like, no, maybe high school if we're counting those schools that people pay $25,000 to send their kids to, right? They mortgage their house to send their kids to. She's like, I never would have thought that that's what I was getting in for today. So meanwhile, I'm thinking that my star looked pretty bad that day, right? But it didn't even matter. It's not about me. It's never been about me, folks. Their stars were shining. And so we wrote those letters. And I want y'all to hear some of them. In fact, I was encouraged not to send these at the time. And because I'm kind of a coward, I didn't. But I want you to hear just a few of what you guys said about Wilkinsburg, about you. And hopefully in that, their star shines a little bit brighter. So check this out. Shade, you said, didn't your mother ever tell you, and you're talking to this guy who called y'all bruised apples, didn't your mother ever tell you not to judge a book by its cover? Flip through our pages a little bit. Yes, we have our struggles, but who doesn't? You're seeing all the bad in us, but who is trying to help us? It's hard trying to better yourself when everyone has their back toward you. Anthony says something that I think is so true. The teachers here believe in us, though. He said there are some amazing and intelligent students here at Wilkinsburg. People have graduated from here and gone on to do amazing things with their life. Chantel Morrison, who gave us a lovely rendition of the national anthem tonight, said this: it's like you felt that your words would break us. Instead, your words only challenge us to work harder. Sir, we're working hard in spite of you and your opinions. The unjust laws of this world haven't stopped us, and neither will your article. Destiny Herring, where you at? She said this. She said, look, I'm confused, and I agree sometimes, right? I'm confused as to why Wilkinsburg stands out to everyone. Unfortunately, we have gotten used to these articles and topics. That's ridiculous. That never should have happened. But these things you write about are really not Wilkinsburg. So if you must continue to make money by taking shots at us, please come do your research first. I'm not lying to you all. I don't say this just because I'm cheesy. These folks are stars. And we're gonna keep going because it didn't stop there, right? They said there's a big author coming to Pittsburgh. And as this grant, there were 10 different school districts. And the people who were up high in the grant were like, we need to send them to one of our best school districts, whatever that means. And the people who came into the classroom with that day were like, forget that. We are sending his name was MK Asante, but we're sending him to Wilkinsburg. And they said, no, not Wilkinsburg. Nothing's happening at Wilkinsburg, right? And they said, you weren't in that classroom, man. Everything's happening at Wilkinsburg. And MK Asante is getting there, and he got there. And Chantel introduced him in front of 15 people, and Daniel Scott sat in the front row and was like, And Daniel starts asking questions, right? To the point that MK, I think, started flipping it and asking questions of Daniel because he realized, the author realized that the stars were sitting in front of him. And then we went tonight at a celebration, and there were politicians and there were folks in suits and all this stuff, and we're trying to show off and we're trying to look good. And I had totally forgotten to prepare anybody at all to speak. And we needed a student to speak. And so I said, Shade, can you please make us look good? And I pushed her out on the stage, folks, and she shined brighter than I ever could. And I'm gonna try to keep this part short because this is where I